Hey guys, I'm Sean from the Comics Pals. We are here live at New York Comic Con 2024. It is Sunday, the last day, and believe it or not, this place is still abuzz, which is fantastic to see. Now, standing next to me are two creators who are doing something that I think is brilliant, a book that I am super excited about, and I really, really want you guys to know about because I think you'll be excited too if you check it out. I am here with Caspar Wijngaard and Kieron Gillen behind the Power Fantasy. How is your con going so far, guys?
Great. Honestly, it's my first time in New York since 2019.
Yeah.
So, it's been a while, but it's a lovely bit. I love New York. I love New York Comic Con. People are great. I'm very easy. Caspar?
Yeah, great. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I've lost my voice, but other than that, if I'm able to speak,
Yeah, I was doing karaoke until 3 last night, so my voice is tentative.
yeah. Every morning it's glasses of water before the con, just to
hydrate.
Yeah.
Yes, that is actually great advice out there. If you go to a con, hydrate. You must. Now, you guys dropped a nuclear bomb.
Thank you.
On comics with the Power Fantasy #1.
Thank you.
I was a huge fan of both of you guys, obviously, from All Against All. And then, of course, Kieron, I've been reading your work for almost as long as I've been reading comics.
Wow.
But the Power Fantasy feels like a perfect book for this time, especially for you coming off of X-Men and everything that you guys were doing there. Now, if I could just take a moment to sort of talk about the Power Fantasy and what I get out of it, and then you guys can speak to it.
Okay.
So, for me, I was excited when I saw Kieron taking over X-Men with Immortal X-Men because I felt like your sensibilities played really well into what was happening during the Krakoan era. You've spoken about how there were certain things that you weren't able to do that kind of led into the Power Fantasy, and it's a book about characters with superpowers, but not in a superhero sandbox. It feels like a real world that has people with powers dropped into it, but the trick is that they cannot fight each other because if they do, it would be like two countries dropping nukes on each other. It would just end the world. And I think that's a really, really interesting premise and a way to think about superheroes. So can you guys talk about how the premise came about for you and why this was the right pairing for this title and why now's the right time?
Yeah. Honestly, as you say, it definitely came from Immortal X-Men. And it's less that I couldn't do it at Marvel, it's more that I shouldn't. It's like I would never have pitched the Power Fantasy at Marvel because it's not a Marvel-shaped idea.
Sure.
You need to build it from the ground up. But the observation was, over the last 50 years, we've made our superheroes more and more and more and more powerful for various reasons. And I was writing 2 of them and I just thought, these people couldn't fight. If I wrote them seriously, then it was, oh no, if I wrote them seriously, that's fun. Because the idea of superhero comics are mainly about fighting. So if you move that to the loose state, you make a book about tension, a Cold War, and all the things they will do not to fight. And that was suddenly, oh no, that's interesting. It's like, I joked, I was like everyone been watching The Bear, and it's like, the bear runs off tension. This would be like that. Imagine if, I don't know, half the cooks had nuclear bombs. It's that kind of book. It's basically, so it's geopolitical, it's big, it's about power, it's about how can we survive with each other. Because we're in a world where I worry about it. I worry about can we find a way to get on, or we're all going to die.
Right.
And that's what the book's about, really. And why Caspar? Why Caspar?
Well, we worked together on Pigeon and Thunderbolt 5 or 6 years ago now.
Yeah.
And that was a brilliant experience for me as a creator anyway, because I love reading superhero books, but it's always been something I've been scared to draw. Sure. I know what I can do technically, and the idea of doing a big 3 superhero book, that was always something that I just worried that I would, I couldn't have that high, on a technical level, I just knew it was something that I don't think I would be able to do. But then when we did Pigeon and Thunderbolt, and I realized that there was a way of making a superhero book that fit how I would do.
Yeah.
How I like to tell stories. It got me excited about wanting to work with Kieron again on something, work on something outside of an IP. So when I was wrapping work on the last Image thing I did, Kieron dropped me a line and was like, hey, I've got an idea for a comic. Would you be interested? Straight away, I was like, look, if it's anything like what we did before, I'm in. Let's make it. And it started rolling from there. And I couldn't be happier. This is definitely a book about superheroes or super powered people that I would want to tell, that I would feel comfortable telling.
Yeah. And that's an interesting point, because when I saw that your name was attached to the project, I was like, wait, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. And so looking through the book and seeing what you're bringing to the project, your visual style, I think you're right in that at the big two, sometimes you can't get that different art style, and your approach. I love the colors you've been working with.
Thank you.
I think it's been a visually a fantastic treat. And I know that we're only in the early days. So it makes me so excited to see what you get to draw, with issue, say, 10, for example.
Yeah, there's also that worry every time I start a page. I'm like, can I get away with this? I need to send a couple to Kieron to make sure that he's like, you've gone too far this time. This is unreadable.
I'm used to unreadable. That's my vibe. I know it's the truth. It's like one of the things when because the fucking question was swan songs, and then what Caspar was doing was changing style between panels. And I immediately saw it and realized, hey, that'll be a really cool way to do this story because it's set across 50 years. So you change the art styles to get different feelings in different places. So, so it's not a realist. I mean, it's a realist, real world superhero book, but the art is much more impressionistic.
Yes.
And moody. And issue 3 is about to come out. We've got these wonderful watercolor scenes in France in the 1950s, and issue 4 we have issue 7. Sorry. Issue 5 is all it's got 1977 punk rock, so it's zipper tone, black and white, that kind of stuff. So that you can lean into the feelings. And that is another thing that makes the book feel very different.
Well, that was a conversation going in. It's like we've done stuff before, and I've definitely worked on books before where I've explored when you do a different timeline in a comic book, you harken back to what they look like at the time. You're like golden era comic books. So we thought, well, let's not do that. Let's do something similar, but what more of the mood, artistically, is at that time instead.
Yeah, it's not about comic. So make the time period. It's not about comic art, which of course is great, but about art and culture. So it's a bigger book in that way.
I feel like that.
Yeah, and I think you've nailed it.
Thank you.
I would say that to my friend.
And I would agree with that.
Thank you.
Caspar, what has been important for you to bring from this? Obviously, Kieron is bringing what he always brings, which is that very cerebral, thoughtful reflection upon the world. But I feel like your career has been similar in that you take books that are very different and very interesting and that have something to say that's important, I think. And so what were you wanting to bring to this from the art side of things?
I just like working with people that make me seem smarter than I am. No, I'm joking. There's a little bit of that, but I love a lot of the writers that I meet in the industry. I've met through knowing them, socializing with them.
Sure.
So I think it's nicer for me to work with people that I know and friends with as well. Like a lot of the people that I work with, I'm genuinely friends with, and I feel like that helps. The creative process feels way more natural and less like work,
Right.
So when we started this, it just felt right, It just felt like this is something that I can do. I don't have to stress about it. Like Kieron I've worked with Kieron before. I know that, I hope that he trusts me when I do stuff. Like he kind of has an idea of what I'm going to do on a page, and I'll explain it to him. So if it's very relaxed, and I like that. That's kind of what you want when you're doing a create your own book, especially to this scale. Like every day I wake up, I'm excited to work on it again because I know what I'm going to do. I'm not stressed. It's not work. It's great. It's just you get to make the book that you want to make.
Right.
And Kieron's a fantastic writer. Like he will write a script for me that's very clean. He knows exactly as long as I'm telling the part of the story that Kieron wants me to tell, because that's the most important part to him. He gives me the freedom to play around those areas and do what I like, which is really nice, and that's really freeing. It's a really nice experience. Yeah.
And I feel like with an artist like yourself, when you have that freedom, that's something we need from you. We need you to have that freedom to be able to play and to be able to do interesting things, because I think that that's when your best work is going to shine through as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope so. Well, that's just what the conversation I had with Kieron when we came in. He was like, he came off seeing the stuff that I did on Swan Song, so that's exactly why you came and said, I feel like we could have a lot of fun here.
I want to see how else you can go.
Yeah, I want to see how far I can push him.
The flip is I don't see roughs. Caspar maybe shows me a couple of panels to get vibe, but then he just shows me finished pages. So, and I'm happy with that. It's I want to see, and the scripts are getting more hey, you could try this. Like Crawford saying a few ideas. Issue 4, there's this whole device we're using to sort of as a clock attention device, and I give a few ideas how you could do it, all like this, and then of course Caspar chooses one, works its way through, it becomes its own thing. I love it. It's really, I work with like, Wicked Divine was a book I did with Jamie McKelvey.
Yeah.
And me and Jamie worked very tightly together, and it was very formalist, and it was all grids and being very, very, very deliberate. And I'm like, I've done that. I don't need to have that complete control anymore.
Right.
I'm interested, like, that's why I work with Stephanie. And Stephanie's like the ocean. But Caspar's more like, I don't know, Matt Fraction will kill me for saying, but Caspar's like jazz. You know, he'll play, and he's working in a kind of like really interesting 80s. Like almost, you're not Sinkovician, but you know how Sinkovic played? You've got a bit of that too as well. So I'm really like different things, and it's fun. It keeps things fresh.
Now, Kieron, you were playing, like we said, in the Marvel sandbox. You were doing the X-Men stuff, and that was fantastic. You could continue to work for the big two and sort of, you know, have that security, I guess, for lack of a better term. Why was it important for you to step back from that and come back to the creator-owned space and, you know, if it's fair to say, take a risk, you know, take a chance?
I mean, honestly, like, I'm sort of kicked back against the question. There's no security at the big two. They'll hire you until you don't.
Sure.
You know, and in reality, the only real smart long-term bet is to bet on yourself. And, you know, to be honest, I've had a pretty good look. You know, I've done, like, Wicked Divine, Die, Once a Future, Uber, really big, long, ongoing series, which are quite around. All these, actually, Uber isn't, but, you know what I mean? So I've done it before, and it's where, and of course, it's a risk, but most things are, and it's a real work. It's that's kind of like, what people will remember you for is the stuff only you can do.
Sure.
Like, I mean, sure, I could do a good X-Men comic, and I have. I like to think so anyway. The reality is, like, Wick Div wouldn't exist without me and Jamie. Die wouldn't exist without me and Stephanie. That's the real work. So, if I was just doing work for hire, I wouldn't be in this industry, because I'm not that guy. Like, not that I hate, no, I love doing work for hire. That's the other side of it. But I'm about the stuff we can do together. And that's how, one of these things, even when doing Marvel work, I often think, what would Jack Kirby do? And the actual answer is make something new. So it's always, okay, what can I do to turn, you know, something new, instead of just a culture of nostalgia, which I have problems with. You know, I kind of wish that every movie wasn't a reboot. I just think, you know, we need to make new stuff up. I think it's culturally important for us all. Well, that got heavier, but you know, yeah. Also, it's fun.
Yeah. I love that answer, and you guys have done such a great job promoting this book. I was reading your Reddit AMA that you guys did, and so you've really, you know, hit the ground running to try to make sure that we get the word out and that people know that this is a book that people should be reading, because it's not just, like, superheroes are fantastic, and I think everybody in the building loves them, but comics can be more and are more and have always been more. And so I just want to say that I appreciate the fact that you're both so willing to push the envelope and try to do different things from an artistic side, but also from a writing side. And I get a lot out of that when I get to read books that are coming from very talented people who have the agenda to push things forward. So thank you so much for that.
You know, honestly, thank you. That was incredibly kind.
Yeah,
and it's like, there's weird things, you know, we're pushing it very hard. In the current climate, it's really important.
Yeah.
Create your own books don't have the infrastructure a big two book has. So, like, you know, anytime anyone, you know, does a tweet or whatever about a book, you were probably the only person talking about a really small indie book. Like, we do better than that, but, like, it's really important to talk about the books we love. So we try to, like, germinate conversation, be accessible, and it's fun. We like, you know, because it's all about communication.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, guys. I'm going to end it here. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I really appreciate what you guys are doing. Keep up the great work. Go buy Power Fantasy. The next issue is actually out this Wednesday. It's only issue 3, so that means that you can jump on board right now. For the cost of your cup of coffee, you can read what these two brilliant gentlemen are bringing to the table. I'm sorry about that. We need more books like this, so go support it. That's what keeps it happening.
To say, the first issue's gone into a 4th printing, and the second issue's a 3rd printing.
Wow.
So, like, you can jump aboard, there's new issues out, and we'll carry on reprinting it as long as it keeps on selling. So, yeah, it'll be good.
That's a beautiful thing. We're going to close out here. This is my last interview of the con, so thank you for watching. We will see you in the next one. Take care, guys.
Thank you.